In this video, I'm going to be talking about two very closely related techniques that can help you make your movements quicker and easier and more accurately on your leaps. In the last video, I talked about rebounding and how that can help you kind of bounce you across. Now, in this video, I'm going to talk about ways to swing across. One is to just swing across, to use a rotational movement to send you to the next note, which is easier than this. If you do this with me, okay? That is not easy, okay? But that is easier. So we'll be talking about just simple rotating over or swinging over. I'm also going to be talking about kind of slingshotting over, where you are going to use the piano to kind of go left, but help swing you right, that kind of a motion. And so that can make the motion faster, and it helps you cover greater distances with greater ease. I think it's important to try some of these techniques away from the piano so you get the sense of using a solid surface to help propel you over. And depending on the way that you play the piano, some people press hard into the keys or they hover over the keys, but they never quite get to the bottom of the keys. And I'm not advocating pushing into the bottom of the keys. I'm advocating landing on the bottom of the keys. So that's why. And also it really helps simplify it if you're a teacher. If you can teach your kids what it feels like to just tap on a surface or use a surface to propel you somewhere, it's kind of easier and it kind of isolates that motion. So I do like to use this. I'm not teaching little kids anymore, but I used to have this very table. I used to have them try different things on it and then try it at the piano. So you're welcome to do that today. If you don't have a table, you can use your piano. You can put your fall board down and use that, although it tends to be a little bit higher than the key bed. Also, you can use your lap. So I encourage you to try these things so that this isn't an academic exercise, that it's something that you actually get into your body. So the first one was more like jumping from one spot to the next, although you can see there's a little bit of an arc. But especially when you're moving from single notes, you're going to use this sort of a technique where you're going to maybe rotate a little bit to the left or a lot to the left and go across. And you're going to do that more. The bigger the distance, the more you're going to need to rotate left to throw yourself over. So we can think of it as just rotating over. And you can see my arm is rotating here. The hand is at the end of this little pendulum that is my arm. So up here, I am moving. And if you've opened a door, you know how to rotate. So just imagine opening a door, just how you'd open a door. And then when we play the piano, if we have a bigger distance, maybe our hand is a little bit more open, but we want to have that freedom to move. What would be the first piece that I can think of that you could teach this in would be that minuet in G that so many of us have played or taught. Let me move this table out of the way. Okay, I had to reset the angle. So the famous piece that we've all played or taught, sometimes people stretch over to here, and you can do that, but it's a little hard. Or you can just rotate over. And so that would be like a really simple example. I think at the end of that piece, that's a really good example right there, that you would just arc over and you wouldn't really need to snap back the other way very much. But we can teach our students to do that so that they're not doing something like looking for the note. We want to create a sensation in the body where they feel connected or one flows right out of the other one. So that's a really simple example. As you get more advanced, of course, you get more crazy leaps. I was going back and reviewing old pieces and this last week or two, and one of them was the Minute Waltz, and I had some fun with that one. But there's this little spot in it that goes like this. It's not much of a leap, but it's sure, it's not much of a leap, but it sure can cause problems. And it's much harder than you think. And this one, I actually found that arcing up, you see how my arm kind of came up a little bit? We call that an undershape, because not because we're gonna go like make a big circle or a big smile there, but that we're gonna kind of scoop up a little bit. And then, so that's just an example of a leap in context, which we have to take the whole thing into context, and that's going to have to be another thing that we can talk about, because sometimes what comes before or after the leap can make it difficult. One other thing I want to say about the leaps, I was emphasizing more of the of this kind of an arcing motion, but don't forget that you can go kind of under. And if you watch my elbow, when I'm going this way, my elbow mostly stays stationary. I'm not ever holding anything and preventing it from moving, but it just kind of stays there. When I do an undershape and get higher, see what happens. So when you need to move quite a distance, sometimes the undershape is the thing that's going to help move you across. You don't want to use it if you're going to come right back. So if you're here and you want to go back here, then you have a big motion to get back. And so that's something to keep in mind. Almost always, if we're going to the thumb, it's going to be an overshape. When we're going this way, it can be an overshape or an undershape. So the undershape is going to take you further. You can try it both ways and see what works. And it's always a process of experimentation to find out the perfect motion that's going to work. There are motions that are going to work and there are motions that are not going to work. And if you don't figure out exactly where you need to be, and I'm not just referring to the fingers, but also where the arm is. The arm has to be behind the fingers in the right way. It can be angled. It can be this. You could be playing this note. The arm needs to be here. Sometimes if you're going to cross over this way. If your arm is here and you need to cross over, then you're going to get kind of jammed up and you're not going to be able to cross. It's really important. And so when you do crash and burn, a lot of times it's because your arm wasn't in the right place to allow it to happen. Now, instead of focusing on swinging across that we've just been talking about, we're going to talk about more of a motion that includes a preparatory rotation, if we're going to get technical, but I'm going to call it kind of a wind-up swing that helps propel us across. And I kind of like to think of this as a slingshot, that we're going to slingshot across, and that creates momentum and speed as we're going across. And again, when we're doing leaps, we want speed, and we also want to get there early. It's a little hard to show the delay, but when you do this, you get there early, then you play. So you make sure you're on the nose before you go. We're just going to go a little deeper on that. So this can go several different directions, and I'm just going to demo these. I hope you'll try them on your lap or on your desk or on your piano. But so when we swing left to go right, we go like this. Okay, that's swinging left to go right. We can swing right to go left. So it's just, we're creating a thing that we can just throw it or slingshot it. We want to have that sense that we're just letting it go and it's flying. I'm going to demonstrate the right hand now. So we can swing to the right to go left, or swing to the left to go right. And it's more hard to rotate over your thumb because the way the arm is built, this is very easy to do. This is a little harder to do, and if you can see, I have to have a little bit of release in my elbow to do that. Now, I'm not doing chicken arms. I'm not doing that because that's a really big motion, but there has to be some kind of a release that I'm not deliberately moving that upper arm. It's just, I'm allowing it to move. So if you do this and it feels uncomfortable, especially across the top of your wrist, then stop doing it. You may need to get some coaching on how to do that. This is where I use it the most, and it's become automatic and it helps me so much. I use it in things like waltz spaces where you can just play, like a lot of times you'll have a single note and then, you know, go over to that. Okay, so this motion, I've seen it compared to a spring-loaded, like a screen door, that you go back this way and it throws itself shut. So you could think of it that way. So this motion, and try it in bigger, try it bigger. See if you can go further. If you've got a piano handy, I'm going to do white notes actually right now. Just like a C inversion chord, or it can really throw you over fast. And when you're playing something difficult or fast, the speed is really important. It needs to be easy. And I don't know if you can tell, but that's easy. It's a skill you have to build over time. You're going to get really good at it. Now it's automatic. Anytime I have some kind of a bass like that, I use that. I have a challenge for you. I would like you to try out some of these leap techniques in some of your pieces, or if you're a teacher, try them out with your students and see if it helps you. Try swinging across, try bouncing across, try slingshotting across, and see if that helps you. Try it out. Tell me how it works in the comments. And if you're still having trouble in some passages, I would love to know what they are. Maybe I can give you some suggestions or put it in another video. Just be sure to include the composer, the piece, the measure, and maybe what you're having a problem with. Good luck in your practicing, and I'll see you in the next video.